A new twist Wednesday in the tangled tennis saga down under. Novak Djokovic admitting to mistakes on his immigration forms and to not isolating after testing positive for COVID-19, all while Australia is still considering possibly booting him from the country ahead of the first major tournament of the year. Final preparations are underway at Melbourne Park, where the Australian Open kicks off Monday. The big question, will the men's tennis number one get the chance to play for a record 21st Grand Slam title? Djokovic posting a long statement on Instagram, an attempt, he says, to clarify misinformation. The tennis star blamed his agent for an administrative mistake for falsely reporting that Djokovic had not traveled abroad in the 2 weeks prior to leaving for Australia. This was a human error, and certainly not deliberate, the athlete says. And he acknowledged an error of judgment for doing an interview and photo shoot for a French newspaper while infected with COVID-19. I socially distanced and wore a mask except when my photograph was taken, he writes. The head of the International Tennis Writers Association expressing deep concern that Djokovic hadn't told one of the organization's members that he tested positive, telling CNN, "As journalists, we take great care to adhere to all COVID-19 rules in place, and we would expect all players to do the same," adding journalists have to be fully vaccinated to travel to the Australian Open.
We've all been made to have a vaccination to keep our jobs, and then someone comes in on an exemption. Doesn't seem really fair.
I don't like his arrogance. I feel he's come across as he's above it all.
I think it's good for every one of us to see him playing on the court.
Some reaction in Australia, where Omicron, by the way, is surging. Djokovic, who is unvaccinated, had his visa revoked after arriving in Australia on January 6th without a valid exemption to the country's vaccination requirement for all arrivals. But a judge later overturned that decision, allowing him to stay. Australia's immigration minister, though, has powers to re-cancel the visa and deport Djokovic, something that could happen before the Australian Open begins. Melissa Duggan, City News.